Anna Beard. Anna is parent to one steadfast, creepy, pre-tween artist and a resilient multitasker. When she is not losing arguments to the pair of them, she fills her time with trying to find new ways to share stories, making homemade bacon with her stepdad, and learning to balance motherhood with some recently found personhood. She hopes that by sharing this story, that parents who didn't have things go as planned know that they are enough, and they have always been enough.
Come on, come on.
I come from a long line of scared, shitless teenagers birthing babies in less than ideal circumstances. 2 days before I take a pregnancy test, I break up with the father because we have nothing in common except our taste in beer. My best friend Rose responds to the 2 blue lines on the pregnancy test with an offer to go buy us a bottle of vodka or a baby name book. I'm terrified to tell my mother, so I blurt it out over the phone, and in a bizarre plot twist, she tells me she thinks she would make an excellent grandma. My OB starts every appointment off with a, "Well, I see you're still pregnant." It's supposed to be a joke, but after daily ER visits, an emergency appendectomy, and losing 25 pounds from vomiting in the last month of pregnancy, it doesn't feel very funny. I wait patiently for the outline of a hand to press against my belly to say hello, but it never comes. The birth ends up being the easiest part in this. My co-parent sits in a stool, rolling around, my mom rocks in a rocking chair, and Rose curls over a notebook, taking notes on all of the things that we might want to remember later while I make bad jokes. After a while, I get really uncomfortable and I ask for Stadol, and suddenly everything is unbearable. I ask the nurse for a bucket, and everyone holds their breath like I'm about to throw up, because at this point, it is my specialty. No one knows what the fuck I'm dealing with, so they try to pretend like it's not happening. They make small talk, and that irritates me, so I reach around for my phone and I pull it into my bucket with me and I text Rose. Tell them to shut the fuck up. I can't shake this feeling that something bad is about to happen, but I tell myself that at least I'll be able to hold my baby so soon. The Stadol starts to wear off, and it occurs to me that I've spent well over an hour in here. I just hope they don't say anything when it's time to come out. We don't talk about it. I end up getting an epidural, and the nurses start using sugar-coated phrases and avoiding my questions. The OB rushes in and tells me it's time for an emergency C-section, and my mom jumps out of a rocking chair and tells him to check me one more time. I'm at a 10. Even though I know that this is the worst possible time, I just remembered that everyone promised me that no one's going to be below my elbows, but Rose and my mom both have a knee, and they're both about to get a nice, clear shot of my junk. After a couple of pushes, I feel a release in my vagina, and I turn to Rose and I desperately ask, "Is she out? Is she okay?" She looks down and looks back up so fast that I know that I have ruined sex and childbirth for her forever. No, not yet. Another handful of pushes, and they plop my daughter's tiny body onto my chest. She arches her neck to look at me, and I am so in love that I don't realize that everyone in the room is quiet. In my peripheral, a nurse's hand reaches for my daughter's arm, pulls it away from her body, and lets go. In my peripheral, her arm falls to my stomach without a single sign of functional muscle. In my head, I just can't stop staring at those beautiful dark eyes. A nurse scoops her up, and my baby, my birth team, my mom all disappear down the hallway where they draw the blinds to the nursery, and I'm stuck in this bed. My mom paces the hallway, and my chest aches and my brain scrambles. Do they usually keep them this long? Why did her arm do that? How long does it take for a baby to uncurl from in utero? I text Rose, who's still by my side, and I ask her to go find her. They bring her back to me in a parade of hospital staff, and in front of a full audience, they hand me this tiny piece of paper with this huge word on it, arthrogryposis. The pediatrician tells me that they're not really sure that that's what's going on, but they've been looking at medical texts and they kind of think that's what it is. I ask them if they can come back tomorrow. I just need to hold my baby. My mom and I unwrap her from her swaddle and count her impossibly long fingers and her 10 curled toes. Her knees are stuck in the lotus position and her feet cup her diaper. Her arms are straight with no discernible elbow, and her wrists are bent, palm to forearm. She's all sharp knees and dark eyes. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Each of her knees has dimples where the joint has never learned to move, and they look like smiley faces. One night, in the middle of the night, a nurse comes in and she's taking my vitals and she tells me all about her cousins, friends, veterinarians, neighbors, down the street neighbor, who had a daughter who was born paraplegic. She tells me all about how hard this life was for this mom, but she's so strong, as if this is the only thing that matters. What I want to say to her is, I'm here. Isn't this enough? She thinks she's comforting me this story, but really, in the middle of the night, with a blood pressure cuff squeezing my arm and my baby at my breast, I'm just confused. Another morning, we're standing in the nursery while the pediatrician gives us a list of unknowns, and my brain checks out and I hear my mom say, "So, it'll be a while before she plays soccer, right?" The pediatrician tilts her head and frowns. Maybe she'll be president someday. None of us knows how to tell anyone something is wrong feels like dirt in my mouth. So instead, we invite everyone one by one, and we let them unwrap her while I stare at them, daring them to say anything or to pull back. I'm seething with anger over how everyone's looking at me. The first thing that I do when we get home is Google the word on that paper. The first thing I find is that most babies don't survive infancy. I'm pretty sure that I asked this question, and I'm pretty sure that someone told me, no, she's okay, but I don't know how to trust anyone with this. At 19, I am thrown into a world of special needs parenting where each week I fit in a pediatrician appointment, 2 to 3 physical and occupational therapy appointments each, and a trip to Helena for the closest orthopedic specialist. I learn all about club feet, about Ponseti castings and the anatomy of a joint. Every medical professional we meet tells me, "You're the expert," and I'm screaming inside because I'm not supposed to be the expert yet. At our first WIC appointment, the woman asks me why I'm not holding my baby and pulls the blanket off of her car seat to reveal 2 bulky plaster casts. She spends the rest of our appointment crying uncomfortably while I stare at her and memorize her face and wonder which part of this feels insurmountable to her. People corner me in grocery stores. People who I called friends start rumors. Everyone feels better when there's someone to blame. I stagger under the weight of the blame. I obsessively Google the word on that paper until the letters fade. I hide everyone on Facebook who has a normal baby because I see how they worry about typical things like breastfeeding and weight gain, and everyone shows up. I worry about typical things like breastfeeding and weight gain too, and not even my lactation consultant knows what to say. My baby and I grow together. In the early morning light, before anyone else is awake, I watch her stretch her body on my bed, and I tell myself, everyone else must be wrong. I let go of what I thought life would look like as a teen parent, and I become the expert and the advocate while my daughter learns to roll over with bulky plaster casts, to scoot around her house, eventually to play soccer in her speedy power wheelchair. We celebrate in occupational therapy when she learns how to pick her nose. This means enough elbow flexion to feed herself independently. I find little ways to heal from my grief, and I pack away all of the other big feelings in a box of baby shoes that she'll never wear. I find a community of special needs moms who lose sleep over things that others can't even imagine, and to celebrate things that don't always make sense. It feels really good to belong somewhere. When she's 7, she'll take her first steps, and I'll be forced to unpack those big feelings and relive my grief. This time it's different though. This time it isn't for this little thing in my arms and the unknown. This time it's for every parent who had to become the expert before they were ready to. For every parent who was given something so unexpected, so beautiful, and so goddamn lonely, and still manages to hold up the sky.